I mean, who doesn't want to constantly be getting stronger? Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today guys we are talking about progression fantasy, the best of progression fantasy. But before we get into it, please like this video and subscribe to the channel as it does help the channel grow, and you can check the description box down below for links to all my social media, including Instagram, PANGO Books, the Discord, my Patreon if you want to help support the channel. All of that is there for you to explore. And with that out of the way, let's jump right on into this list. You can see I've got my stack of books right here. This is kind of a top 10 list, and it's kind of not a top 10 list because this is a genre I'm always kind of reaching for and exploring more of. But essentially, if you don't know what progression fantasy is think of Dragon Ball Z. Goku's always like just leveling up. That's kind of essentially what progression fantasy is. There's a couple things that kind of fall into progression fantasy as well, like game lit, cultivation, things of that nature. Isekai. There's another term for isekai that is escaping my brain, but portal fantasy, stuff like that. But anyway, all of that can be considered some form of progression fantasy. It doesn't have to necessarily be fantasy either. There can be some sci-fi as well. Now, I don't own all of these series I'm about to talk about. We've got 10 here to talk about, so I guess you could air quote say this is a top 10, but really this is just the 10 that I kind of have read so far, which is kind of wild to think that it's at a nice like round number of 10. It just kind of worked out that way. And like I said, I'm always reaching for more. I've got a just laundry list of series that I am planning to check out here soon in the future. But starting off this list with the digital picks, we have got, of course, The Wandering Inn by Pirate Abba. This is fantastic. It's a portal fantasy. It's got those just kind of like game-like leveling lit RPG elements to it. And this is a less aggressive form of progression fantasy because the series is so long and we spend so much time on the characterization. If you're not paying attention to certain things, you can kind of miss the progression elements of The Wandering Inn. But it's a wonderful world, wonderful story, great characters, and frankly, if you wanted a series that you could just sink your teeth in for about a year or two and just not come up for air, Wandering Inn is where it's at. It will 100% sate you. I always say, read the first book. If you like the first book, dive in full force. If you don't, then obviously the series isn't for you. It's a series I've really been wanting to come back to. I finished, I think, book 5 or 6 3 or 4 months ago, and I've just been craving to come back to this series, and I hope to before the end of the year. Next up, we've got, this is in no order, by the way, so don't take this being listed here as it being lower down the list. We've got Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Denneman, narrated by the incomparable Jeff Hayes. And I know I don't talk about this series a whole lot. It's very popular here on BookTube now, but I've read all of the books that are currently out. Book 6, Book 7 just got announced with the cover reveal. I'm very happy. I can't wait for it. You gotta find Princess Donut on the cover. She's there, but you gotta find her. Anyway, this is just game-lit progression fantasy that is amazing because Carl is constantly leveling up certain things. He's getting more perks, more equipment. It's unapologetic, it's brash, it's zany, it's wild. You get to watch Carl's descent into madness and Princess Donut's just rise to power and just fame, and it's so incredibly good. Wildly zany. The apocalypse will be televised, where we've got Dungeon Crawler, or I say Dungeon Crawler, well, he is a Dungeon Crawler, but we basically got Carl just sitting at home in his boxers, and then the apocalypse happens, and he has to go fight for the entertainment of all of the alien species in the universe. It's fantastic, and he takes his cat with him, who then gains sentience and the ability to speak. It's as crazy as you could possibly think it is. It's got mantars. Think centaur, but like with the body of a man, and then from the neck, the torso of a man. It's wild, it's crazy, mantars. And then finally we've got Mark of the Fool. And Mark of the Fool is an interesting one, because the first, I would say 3 books in this series are fantastic. Book 4 I really enjoyed, but it did something that like kind of jumped the shark, if you're familiar with that term, with me, where it did something that kind of broke my I don't know, my immersion of the series. I couldn't believe that we progressed like that with the main character, Alex. And so I've been kind of on pause with the series. I haven't been sure if I'm going to come back to it, but just yesterday I was scrolling and I was like, you know what I would like to read? Like, I'm kind of just in a little bit of a funk. You know what sounds fun? Mark of the Fool. And I was like, oh, apparently I'm coming back to Mark of the Fool, because if I'm thinking about Mark of the Fool, that means I'm ready to return to the series. Whether it jumped the shark or not, this one's fun. It's got golem building, it's got a motley crew, it's got a school setting, it's got found family, it's got defying destiny. I love this one. Overcoming like insurmountable odds, and I love this book. So this book series so much. It's a lot of fun. And I'm excited that I finally got the bug to come back to it. And of course, narrated by Travis Baldree. A lot of these are going to be narrated. Well, I would say a few of these are going to be narrated by Travis Baldree. This being one of them. And then we've got The Physicalist. Right here, we have got Titan Hoppers by Rob J. Hayes. This one is sci-fi. We've got two main characters, Emil and I believe Iroh is their names. This is a space-faring civilization. Earth is a long-forgotten memory. And basically, humanity has gone out into these flotillas of fleets of spaceships, and the spaceships are broken down and dying, and basically they have found these artificial structures called Titans, and they scavenge food and equipment and technology from these Titans, and then theirs blows up, and they gotta go find another one. And it's just fascinating because we've got just a young man who kind of just isn't expected to be anything. He doesn't have any of the powers that any of the other people have. He wanted to become a Titan Hopper. You need to unlock certain powers, and there's certain levels to those powers. It's all fascinating and interesting to explore how this kind of group comes together, their animosity, and everything that is involved. I really enjoy Titan Hoppers. I know book 3 just came out. I am currently on the fence on whether or not I want to physically read that or wait for the audiobook. I don't remember the audiobook narrator's name. I'll pop it right there. They do a fantastic job, so it is worth waiting for that audiobook. But man, like I'm so excited to return to Titan Hoppers. I've read the first 2. Great stuff here. You really can't go wrong. And hey, just look at that cover art. Look at it. You're in love. I know you are, because I'm in love. Who does this cover art? Cover illustrations by Manisk Yang Yam. Manisk Yang Yam? Am I saying that right? Let me know in the comments down below if you know. But that is an amazing, amazing cover. One of my favorites. It's got that blue that I love. Blue's my favorite color. So yes. Continuing on with the blue motif, we've got right here Iron Prince, War-Formed Storm Weaver, #1. Bryce O'Connor and Luke Chimilenko. This is amazing. This is one of my favorite series and reads within the last, I think, 12 months. I believe I read this last year, and I ripped through this big, thick book in about 2 days. This is another sci-fantasy one. Another school setting. We got Raiden Ward. He's down on his luck. He's got this genetic disease. And then he kind of gets graced with a CAD, or a combat assistant device, that has a weird sort of spec skew. And it's kind of this big secret, and nobody knows what's going to happen and what he's going to turn into, what his potential for growth is. The progression on this one is fascinating to watch happen in real time, as he starts all the way from the back and then has to leapfrog his way forward and catch up to his peers, all while having fantastic combat, great humor, great found family. This one is super dope. I love this. I can't wait for book 3. I'm hoping next year book 3 will drop. And I can't wait for my Kickstarter editions that I backed for those, because yes, sir. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Surprising nobody, Will White is going to make an appearance. This is Cradle. It's almost my introduction to the series. Not quite my introduction to progression fantasy, but darn close. It's 12 books. There's a short story compilation that Will White's currently writing that I'm very, very excited for. But Cradle is fantastic. We've got Lyndon. We've got Yaren. We've got all of these great characters that come together. Again, found family. You're going to find found family in a lot of your progression fantasy, as well as starting from the back and basically just bypassing everybody through some mechanic throughout the story. I absolutely love where Lyndon starts. He starts off in this valley where he is nothing. He is unsold. He has no powers. And then he basically has to make his way out of the valley into the greater world and shit kicks off. Like, this this is really good. There's tournaments in this series. There's just such amazing combat. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm trying to like bite it back a little bit. But this one's really good. I've done a ranking video with Patrick from Patrick Leo, where we kind of ranked our favorite entries within the Cradle universe, and this one is just, it's so good. I really want to do a reread of this one. I need to do that within the next couple of years. All right, a subgenre of progression fantasy is cultivation, and that's what we've got right here in 1,000 Li by Tao Wong. This is the first step, book 1. This is where we follow Wu Ying as he kind of gets accepted into a sect where he can start cultivating and purifying his body, building up his power, and progressing through the levels of cultivation to hopefully reach immortality, or as close to it as he can possibly get. I am 9 books into this series. They're all just great palate cleanser reads. I would like to say there's a lot of found family in here, but there's like 4 distinct arcs within the story. I just finished the 3rd arc, and each one's a little bit different. We do have some carryover characters, but really, like, we really get to see Wu Ying grow and go on adventures and learn his martial arts and his cultivation style, what works for him, what doesn't, overcoming adversity. All of that is within here, within a great sort of Asian setting, and I just love it. Cultivation, this is also kind of a cultivation novel, if I think about it, which I didn't, but yeah, this one's also mostly cultivation. This is progression / cultivation. This is just straight cultivation. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to clarify that real quick. But yes, this one's amazing. We got 3 left. And one of my favorites, this is my introduction to progression fantasy. This is Superpowers by Drew Hayes. Not only is this progression, it's also superheroes in a school setting. Oh, fantastic. We've got a group of individuals called Powards who basically have uncontrollable superpowers, and they undergo a procedure to become what is called supers. And then they kind of go to college to undergo this rigorous superhero training. It's amazing. I love this. Great audiobook as well. It's 4 books, fantastic series. I just have so much love for this one. So if I can get you to pick up any one of these, I mean, frankly, I can't say it's going to be this one, but I feel like not enough people are talking about Superpowers, even though it's absolutely amazing. And yes, I do consider this to be a progression fantasy, because with each year, they understand their powers more and they become more powerful, and especially Vince. Vince is fantastic. Love this series so much. Then, of course, we've got Sufficiently Advanced Magic. Any book in this series, whether it be Weapons and Wielders, or War of Broken Mirrors, or just Arcane Ascension, would fit into this. We've got Corn Cadence. He kind of goes to undertake this trial while he's looking for his brother, and things don't quite go the way that he thought he was going to. He comes from a warrior family, and instead he gets this kind of artificer style of attunement where he can make equipment, and so he's then got to use that equipment to become more powerful. There's deeper mysteries, there's gods, there's combat, and frankly, it's just amazing. This is my Kickstarter edition of this book. I absolutely love Arcane Ascension, and I cannot wait for book number 5 to drop probably by the end of 2024. It's going to be a good one. And the last book that we've got here is Mother of Learning, and this one is just so incredibly good. Another Kickstarter edition that I've got here. I had to own these physically, and the only way to do that was through the Kickstarter. We've got Zorian as a main protagonist. He's just this kind of bookish nerd at a wizarding school, doing his thing, and then the night of a festival, all of a sudden a lich attacks, and he gets kind of caught up in an explosion, and then he wakes up only to realize he's been stuck in a time loop. And so that's kind of where, like, you know, repetition is the mother of learning. He basically gets stuck in this time loop for like 15 years throughout this series, and we just watch him get more powerful as he understands what's going on, and it's absolutely fantastic. I love this series so much, and that's another one I would love to do a reread on. Like, that sounds fun. I'm feeling the call of rereads, guys, but yes, Mother of Learning arcs 1 through 4, all worth it. Fantastic audiobooks as well. Do yourself a favor and check out all of these series, as they are absolutely amazing and well worth your time. let me know in the comments below if you have any progression series that I should be checking out, that should be on my radar. I do have a whole list of ones that I do want to check out, but this is what I've got for you here today, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby. It means the world to me.